Greetings and welcome to another impressions video here at Words About Games, and today we're going to be looking at Steamworld Quest, Hand of Gilgamesh. Steamworld Quest is the latest entry in the malleable Steamworld franchise from Image and Form. This time around, the series is transformed into a deck-building, turn-based RPG set in a fantasy world populated by steam-powered robots. Players will take control of a party of aspiring, and in some cases reluctant, heroes, battling their way through a hand-drawn world in an attempt to stop the Void Army and rescue the captured guild heroes. Steamworld Quest is one of the most charming games I've played so far in 2019. For all its strengths as a turn-based RPG or deck-building game, and it has some major strengths in those arenas, the game's character and wit truly shine through every moment I've spent with it. From the gorgeously realised hand-drawn art to the delightful cast of characters and the wonderful world they inhabit, the setting and presentation are equally as strong as the gameplay it enables. It's the icing on top of the delicious cake. It might seem a little counterintuitive to open this video focusing on this, but honestly, while the gameplay loop is sublime, it's the characters and their interactions that make this a truly memorable experience. Steamworld Quest is a genuinely funny game. The back and forth between the protagonists that make up your party of adventuring misfits has actually had me genuinely laughing out loud. While the narrative doesn't come across as anything particularly special, at least not in the game's opening hours, although there are enough hints that things aren't quite as they seem to keep me thinking the game might surprise me in this regard, the lovable cast of characters is more than enough to keep me invested in the on-screen action when I'm not wandering the world or pummeling robots with my myriad of abilities. Steamworld Quest's core gameplay loop is incredibly strong thanks to its robust combat mechanics and its simple yet deep approach to building a deck of cards that act as your abilities in a fight. On its face, combat works pretty much how you'd expect from a turn-based RPG. You pick what attacks or special abilities you want to use for your turn, watch them play out, and then your enemy hits you back. The twist comes in the form of how your available moves are determined. You enter each fight with a deck of 24 cards, made up of 3 8-card decks from each party member. At the start of each turn, you'll draw your hand up to 6 cards and you'll play 3 that will form the basis of your turn. Limiting each active party member to bringing 8 cards into combat with them is a fantastic move on Steamworld Quest's part, helping ensure that the deck building aspect of the game doesn't completely overtake the experience, and keeping things simple enough on the surface to ensure you're not getting bogged down trying to perfectly tailor your build or getting your butt kicked if you misjudge your card selection. But while this is fairly straightforward on its surface, it belies the incredible amount of depth that Steamworld Quest brings to the table. Each of your party members have their own set of cards to build a deck from, which allow them to fulfill specific roles, and you can mix and match different combinations of cards to allow characters to perform a variety of functions. Take Galio, for example. He has cards that allow him to taunt enemies, soak damage, debuff enemies, lay down impressive amounts of damage, or even heal allies. It's perfectly possible to create combinations of his cards that allow him to be a tank, damage dealer, or a straight up healer, depending on what you need for your party at any given moment. None of these roles are any less effective than the other, so whichever direction you choose Galeo to go is totally viable, and thanks to the card-based nature of building your characters, you can swap and change between roles at any given moment with no penalties. But the depth goes even further than that, thanks to the more advanced combat techniques on offer in Steamworld Quest. If you string together 3 abilities from the same character, which will activate a bonus 4th card, which is determined by that character's equipped weapon, allowing you a bonus action. If you play 3 cards from Copernicus' deck, for example, you can activate a 4th card that puts a barrier on your entire team. As for the abilities themselves, there are 2 types of cards: standard abilities that build steam pressure, and more powerful abilities that spend it. Using basic attacks, for example, will add a point to your steam pressure gauge, which you then spend unleashing more devastating or useful abilities. And because you're drawing cards at random, you're always thinking ahead and strategizing on the fly, constantly working out new tactics based on whatever cards you have in your hand at any given moment. Putting together a string of cards to unleash a character's bonus card or building up steam pressure to unleash a devastating attack constantly feels immensely satisfying, and it never gets old. There are a few minor drawbacks to how it all comes together. Cards that cost a lot of steam pressure are generally prohibitive in anything except a boss fight, as you'll rarely build enough SP to actually use them, which means that they just waste space that a cheaper card that you could actually play would take up. And despite how rewarding it is to experiment with different decks, It can be quite easy to get locked into specific builds, and quite difficult to find a use for characters who join your party in the later game. But these are both minor quibbles that do absolutely nothing to dampen my enthusiasm for the game at all. It's just something that's worth noting. Steamworld Quest is another slam dunk from Image & Form, a development studio that has cultivated an impressive ability to switch the genre of its Steamworld games while still creating compellingly excellent experiences. The variety of the franchise, which has been a platformer, a tower defense game, a strategy game, and more, is truly a wonder to behold. And with SteamWorld Quest, they can now say they've conquered the turn-based RPG. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, please leave us a comment, like, or subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We've got tons of awesome videos coming every week, including review impressions, indie game of the week, debate-driven top 5 lists, video essays, and our weekly podcast where we discuss games, gaming culture, and the games industry. We also stream 3 times a week at twitch.tv/wordsaboutgames. But most importantly, have a fantastic day.